been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature. You think you're gonna get the truth in a town like this? When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up!
Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone!
Sorry,
It's a phone! It's a cell phone! It's just a cell phone! You knew he was unarmed.
Push the car and put your hands in the air! Officer, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him. Okay, get out of the car, son. Easy. You pulled the trigger.
Put the phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file any charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now.
Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence?
I didn't mean to kill your son!
What you did.
I did what I was trying to do!
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
So begins the end.
Now, all you black folks, I suggest you get away from all these white folks. Not you, Steve. You're right where you belong.
Now, someone would have heard and said, well, I am an albino, I look Asian, I am native Indian, but you are not native. There's no such word as native Indian. As long as that word means India, it means you are from India. That is the truth. Because this is how which language is spoken in such a way, and because people don't understand history, they don't understand the reason for a lot of the names. Now, Black Americans are not native Indian, all right? Black Americans are not native Indian. They are Black Americans, native to North America at this present time, but they did not always reside in North America. And as we said, no Black American has immigrated from Africa either. So, continuing on with this story now. Today's people who find themselves looking like Asians but are actually albinos who call themselves native Indian are not native Indian. They were Orientals. But the scum of the earth albinos from India overtook Asia and overtook all the Orientals and mixed with them. So technically speaking today, all right, all Orientals who have that slant eye look are Indians also, because they were overtaken by Indians. And the culture of India, because if you go to places like China, Japan, and all those Oriental states like Mongolia, the religion that they practice is Buddhism or Buddhism, if that's how you want to call it. They are Buddhists. And Buddhism is a religion of India from Hinduism. Okay? So we'll get into that story fully later on. But for now, that's what you need to know. Because the Indians, the scum of the earth, albinos, overtook the Orientals, who their religion was not in its original form got anything to do with Buddhism or Buddhism, if that's the way you pronounce it. That's not the original religion of Orientals in Asia. This is just a later religion that they took because they were overpowered. And because also when they overpowered, inbreeding, which was a practice of India, right, after the reverse of the caste system, which we're going to get into later, was now put upon the Orientals. And so they also, from being black, became albino as the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair who all come from India and yet claim to be anything else than that. They go around banding all these names, lying to people that they are European. I'm German, I have English ancestry and all that. So even the Queen of England is from India. So-called Queen Elizabeth and the whole entire household that you find in the British royalty, they are all from India. So everybody who's an albino, the so-called Saudi Arabian royalty, are all from India. They are not Arabs. They are not the original Arabs of history. And we'll get to making you understand who the original Arabs of history are if we have the time on The Shape of a World. But they are not. The albinos, the royal Saudi household, are not from Arabia. They are all Indians. And we'll get into that history fully so you understand how things are. They are all from India. So everybody in this world who calls himself white man, he calls himself Hispanic, the so-called Mexicans now who flood the whole entire west coast of United States and look down on black people and see themselves better, are all immigrants from India. And we're going to show you that, and we have a whole book on it. We did not write the book, but the history is there. And we're going to show you. So it just doesn't look like we are talking. Okay? All from India. So that is the reason why today Orientals are technically Indians also, technically in a sense, except they come back to the knowledge of the Creator. Because remember this, let's make you understand something. When the remnants lived in the Middle East, all right, the Orientals have a very close history that is mind-boggling to the remnant. It is unbelievable. But we're not going to share that history right now. If you're interested in the truth, then you will get to find out. So when the remnants were living in the Middle East, right, with the scum of the earth, Indians, albinos, anybody with straight hair who lived in India, and the Orientals, the remnants had a very close relationship with the Orientals. All the Orientals that you find today that are albino, all right, are less than 500 years away from their real black woolly head ancestral Oriental. Did you hear what I said? Less than 500 years. If we want to put it right, we will say 300 years. So that means if you are an Oriental today, anywhere in the world, you have that slant eye look, which all Orientals have. 4 generations before you, your father was as the blackest African that you can find in West Africa with woolly hair. Did you hear that? 4 generations away. Not that long. Okay? So, but this is what happened. When the remnants were removed during the second destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans who were black, the Orientals who had a very close relationship with the remnant, all right, lost the ability to stay as black people. They started getting marauded over by the scum of the earth, albinos, and eventually the Great Wall of China, which they built, because people don't tell you this history, that Great Wall of China that you see in China was built. If you look at the way it was built to protect the borders of China from the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair. Let's take a look at the Great Wall of China now. So this is an image of the Great Wall of China. If you look at this picture over here towards the left, you will notice that this is the map of Asia and India, right? And this particular red marking right here is where the Great Wall of China is, right? So if you notice, India is over here. So this Great Wall of China, which was built by the Orientals after. It was not before, but only after the remnant had left the Middle East did this Great Wall of China come up. Because when the remnants were in the Middle East, they with the Orientals were able to keep the Moabites, the scum of the earth, the children of Satan, out of their lands. So, but when they left, the Orientals had to build this Great Wall of China around them to protect them from albinos, anybody with straight hair, Indians, from encroaching into China. This is what the Great Wall of China was built for. But they will never tell you that in history. Why? Because albino supremacists, the scum of the earth, are protecting themselves from being discovered for who they really are. So if you read the history of the Great Wall of China, they'll try to tell you that it was built in 8 BC before the Creator came. They give you such old dates. But when you look at the Great Wall of China, you know that this is a modern construction. And let's pull up some pictures just to show you that. So here is one picture of the Great Wall of China. When you look at the bricks being used to construct the Great Wall of China, you know it's a modern construction. If you go to places like, let's say, the pyramids in Egypt, you can see how big those blocks are. Because if you look at this one, it looks like blocks that were made from the way people make blocks today. But way back in ancient history, people did not make blocks by mixing cement, mortar, and sand together to create bricks. They just cut up rocks. All right? So the Great Wall of China is a very modern construction. It's not that long ago. At this point in time, it's less than 600 years old. Less than that. Less than 600 years old. Here's another image of the Great Wall of China. Just take a very close look at the construction of it. This is very, very modern from the brick system that's being used. So way back in ancient times, when people constructed their so-called great artifacts, all right, they did not use fired bricks or bricks made from mixing cement, that means limestone, with mortar and allowed to dry up to create bricks. They cut it from stone like that and just carried it on. So the brick system is a new system of building, which shows that the Great Wall of China is a very, very new. It's not as old as they make it out to be, that it was around before the Creator came. That's all a lie. It's fairly new. It's after the remnant left the Middle East, when the Romans said that they could no longer be in Jerusalem and destroyed it and did not allow the remnant to go back in there, did the Chinese build this Great Wall of China to protect them from the scum of the earth albinos from invading their lands. But this did not hold, because when the scum of the earth albino Indians, who are known as the Ottoman Empire, overtook Asia and introduced their caste system, all right, into Asia, and their religion, which is Hinduism, which is now known as Buddhism, into China, the Orientals are now technically considered to be albino because they started inbreeding. And all of this happened, why? Because the remnant left the Middle East. Let's continue now with Legends of Roll Call. So here's another picture of the Great Wall of China from a different view, so you can see that the brick construction and the bricks are fairly new. So when you look at this wall construction, you can see the plaster in between. This white thing that you see if you follow a mouse used to hold all this kind of bricks. But if you notice, in ancient construction, this was never used. Let's pull up a picture. So this is the brick system that is used in the pyramid. You can see how huge the block size is. It's bigger than this man right here. And this man should be an average of, let's say, maybe 5 feet tall, all right? These blocks are huge. You don't see any mortar in between. Let's pull the picture up side by side so you understand what we're saying. So I want you to take a good look at the difference now. This is ancient construction, no mortar. This is modern construction. Bricks are smaller and there is mortar in between the blocks to hold it in place. So this is how you know the difference between ancient construction and modern construction. And modern construction of the brick system is mostly, let's say, close to maybe 1,000 years old or thereabout. It's not that long. So all the images of the Great Wall of China, just by looking at the block system, tells you that these are recent constructions. They are not old as they tell you it's BC, before the creator came, or whom they call Christ, because his name is not Christ. Okay? All the pictures show you that. And this is another picture just showing you that. And this is one is called the Gubiko Gate at the Great Wall of China. And this is another image of the Great Wall of China, which says by Han Wei. You can go take a look at the images. All the brick system shows you that it's newly made. It's not old. So any lies that they tell you that the Great Wall of China is very, very old is all a lie. And today you know the history of the Great Wall of China. It was built to keep the scum of the earth out in albinos, anybody with straight hair. But that failed during the time of the Ottoman Empire, because the albinos, anybody with straight hair that you see all around the world today, came into being, came into world history during the Ottoman Empire. So what they first did when they came into history was to go after Genghis Khan, all right? To go after Genghis Khan's empire, and they took it over, and from then subjected Orientals to Hinduism, which now made them to become Buddhists. That is why the religion of the Orientals, whether it be in China, Japan, all right, or Korea, or the Mongols, is Buddhism, as I should say, because that's how I pronounce it. It's Buddhism, or to you, Buddhism. So the original religion of the Orientals was not Buddhism, because if you look at the way in Mandarin that the number 8, right, the number 8, the number 8 as in 8, right, is written, it is symbolic of the fact that there are people in a boat, symbolic of what happened during the flood of Noah. What does that mean? It means that the Orientals in the original history were very closely related to the remnant. And somebody's gonna say right now, we always knew that Tricks of the S trade is Oriental. Okay, if that's what you think, that's fine. We're not gonna hold you for that. But like we're saying right now, the original history, all right, of the Orientals today, who are all over the world as albinos, they had a close relationship with the remnants. But the remnants left the Middle East and are no longer there. And none of you are interested in finding out who they are or what they are. So we can't give you that information here. When you're interested in the truth, then you'll go find it. So therefore, that is one more mystery or legend which has been told to a lot of people for so many years without them actually knowing the truth being revealed. Because this is the Legends of Roll Call, is the foundation for deconstructing and destroying all mysteries. So if you're an Oriental today, all right, you have to understand that you're technically an albino, because the albinos, the scum of the earth, took over Oriental peoples and introduced their religion and caste system. The idea of hating blacks, which has always been their culture right from origination, which you're going to find out on Legends of Roll Call as we keep going, because we still haven't said anything yet. So that is one history. Since the Orientals, they share a heritage and close cultural relationship with the remnant. And we had already told you earlier that all Orientals today, anybody who looks Oriental, all right, has the slant eye look in any way, shape, or form. All their origin comes from Japan. But today, they are no longer considered to be of that origin. Why? Because the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, who are from India, who are Indians, from the country of India, and Iran and Iraq was later known as Northern India after the remnants left the Middle East. All of them are all together part of being the so-called albinos. Anybody with straight hair who live all around the world, who are all from India. So every albino in this world, doesn't matter what they look like, they call themselves Hispanics. They give you that fake accent and fake history. They call themselves Native Indian, who have taken over Black American history. All right, they are all from India. Let's continue with Legends of Roll Call. So when the scum of the earth, immigrants, albinos, anybody with straight hair, who are all from India, were immigrated into North and South America, the first place which they immigrated them into before they now spread them into everywhere in North and South America was Mexico. And as we've said, we will show you all this history later on. But for now, we're just laying the foundation for where we're going. So the first port of entry which they came into was Mexico. So everybody's origin who is an albino, doesn't matter what you call yourself to be, you are Mexican, you are American. People like Jennifer Lopez, who thinks that she's American when she's actually from India. You know, we're gonna get into all that later, but for now I just want to show you some pictures. So everybody who is an albino, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth of this world, the very children of Satan, and we're gonna get into that later. So you just keep on watching and listening. Everybody who is an albino, they call themselves the white man, Caucasian. They say they are Arabian. They say they're from North Africa. They say they're from Europe. They say they're from South America. They say that they're Mexican. They say that they're Latina. They say that they're Hispanic. They say that they're Australian. They are all from India, the dirtiest smelling people of the world. And we're going to show you all that. And there is an origin of the albinos anybody with straight hair, which does not start in India. It is just called India today because the very name India means Satan, which we're going to show you. All right? So all the stupid, wicked black people of the world who have thought that they were marrying a white man, that they were marrying, the so-called elite of the world, the people who invented all things. You've been stuck at home with a dirty smelling Indian. You know how albinos today think that black people smell and stink, and when you see them over going into the stores, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic, they're busy just cleaning everything, and they actually believe that they are the cleanest people in the world. Albinos, anybody with straight hair, constitute the dirtiest, stinking people in the world, except for those who go after the commandments of the Creator and know His name. Then they are different. Because as we have shown you, and we're going to show you later on, everybody who has come to the knowledge of the Creator is actually a remnant in origin. It means that his parents or great-grandparents were the remnant, and he just got lost being born in any of those Gentile nations which do not seek the Creator. This is the truth. That is why the Creator said in the Bible that He will gather the elect from the four corners of the earth. And people don't understand that language. They think that it's going to be, like gathering Gentiles. No, He's only gathering the remnant. Because everybody who believes in the Creator means that his origin, his parents were definitely the remnant. That is what it means. It doesn't matter if they find themselves to be a Gentile in a Gentile nation and go by the names of maybe any other names of the nation right here. But we'll get into that later, all right? But for now, you have to understand that everybody who says that they are an albino, anybody with straight hair, are all from India. And all the stupid, wicked black people who thought that they were marrying some sort of like elite human being, you are stuck with a dirty smelling Indian, the dirtiest people in the world. India is the dirtiest country in the world. You will find India in the Bible if you go and read in the book of Esther. For those who like doing research, you're welcome to go try that out, all right? Keep researching and keep finding if you'll find this one. India is in the Bible. India is one of the oldest civilizations, right, after Africa. But if you go to India today, people are defecating on the streets. If you go to any African village, no matter how poor, you won't see that. And meanwhile, Africans came and brought India civilization, and today they switched the code because black people brought them light. And the funny thing is this, if you go to India today, they still call black people who lived there, who brought them the civilization and brought them out of the dark ages, brought them out of their caves into light, they still call them royalty in the native Indian language. And we'll get into that sooner. So all the black people who've been dancing and prancing about and thinking, honoring the so-called white man, you've been honoring a dirty white Indian, the scum of the earth that the Creator cursed. And people will keep wondering, how were they cursed? You'll find out. We're still getting to that. So stick around. So every albino in this world came from India, and they first got transported into Mexico before being transported into North and South America. And then they were transported into everywhere else in the world by the stinking white supremacist Vatican. And we are all still getting to that as we get along. It's so sad that black people have been helping albinism to succeed. And look at the state of the world we're now in. They've got children covered up with masks because COVID-19 would not succeed if, as albinos, the scum of the earth, anybody with straight hair, are very predictable, right? And the white supremacists know that if they impute A, that B is going to come out, because they perpetuate ignorance, fear, stupidity, because they have no common sense. They're senile. So whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. The white supremacists know that. They know that once they start with the bullshit of telling the stupid scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, stay 6 feet apart, and this stuff is killing people on TV, they're going to run with it. And since black people can only be controlled by whiteness, that the stupid black folk will also do so. That's how it works. Because without albinos, anybody with straight hair, what is happening today in the world will not happen. So that's why we're very, very vicious in telling you the truth right now. Because when we were all just merry and going around just trying to just make you people see, the stupid black people of the world to see the truth, all right? That albinism is a disease and a sickness. All right, and it cannot succeed without black people helping, giving their carbon to the people who were caused of the Creator for what they did. That albinos, anybody with straight hair, would not be able to survive and continue this mayhem that they have released on humanity because they are children of Satan. It would not succeed. It was all merry, and we tried to do that in very simple ways. But now, the attack is no longer mental. So we just can't be talking about it because now people are dying, including innocent, righteous people who are doing the commandments of the Creator, are getting killed because of COVID-19. So now the attack is no longer mental. It's a full-blown attack on the body. So that is why we are attacking viciously the body of the albinos, for you to see it yourself. If you will ever see it, because people will still be in denial, because they love their albinos, the scum of the earth, anybody with straight hair. So continuing on, the reason why you're looking at the screen is because we're trying to show you two pictures, all right? On the right of the screen are Indians. On the left on the screen are basically people who call themselves Mexicans. Because as we have said, the albinos, anybody with straight hair, are the only people in the world who are satisfied with their origin story. They actually believe everything that they are told. So that's why they can pass to you all the stupid lies of saying, I am Native American, I am Latina, my parents have always been here, I am European, I am German, I'm mixed with Italian, I am Australian, I am South African, I am American. They are all Indians, all from India, all of them. None of them is anything that they tell you. But they are the only people in the world who believe their origin story and stick with it. A typical black person will always question his origin, even if he knows that he was from where he is. He will still question, but where was I before this? Why? Because common sense in black people tells them that there is something more about the origin of man than just waking up and finding yourself where you are. They know that. So they'll always question their origin because their origin will always go back to the Creator. But Satan does not want you to do that. So he sets up all this ridiculous genealogy testing websites and makes you believe in albinos, anybody with straight hair, and you believe that this is where your origin is from. Albinos are the only people who do that. They believe that they are actually who they are. Why? Because of Satanism. They are the children of Satan. And the Creator told everybody, every black person, stay away from these people, until some blacks now went into India because they were seeking the power of Satan. And that is how they came out from their dirty smelling Indian countries into the rest of the world in the Ottoman Empire, and from the Ottoman Empire took over the Vatican, and from the Vatican now they became the white supremacist masters, controlling everybody else, because now they had fully now the power of Satan, which was created by the Roman Empire. So on the right of your screen you have people of India, right? Every albino is from India. On the left, you have people who call themselves Mexicans, but they are also from India. And we're going to show you this with proof, because all this history is in books, not written by black folk, but written by people who are of Asian descent. how Indians were immigrated from India and Asia into Mexico, and from Mexico into North and South America and the Caribbean. This is fact. Everything we tell you, we show you with facts. So on the left of the screen, you have people who call themselves Mexicans, who are actually Indians. And the reason why we are showing you this picture is for you to take a good look and see that the ethnicity is the same. So those stupid smelling Mexicans who have been looking down on black people all their life and think that they are better, you better go back to India. Your origin is from India. So everybody who's an albino, anybody with straight hair now, so I want you to pay attention to this message. If you're an albino, anybody with straight hair, you are from India. That is your place of native origin. And you have to go back to India. Why? Because the Bible, the Creator said that He would be dealing specially with you. That's the reason why everything that's happening right now is happening. Because the separation of the world has to start. And whatsoever the Creator said that He would do, right, to the Indians, the albinos, the scum of the earth, anybody with straight hair, is starting to happen now. And we'll get into that later. I want you guys now to compare the pictures and see that the ethnicity, the genealogy, the genetics of these people who call themselves albinos, anybody with straight hair, are one and the same. They are all from India. Because if you look at this lady from the right, whom you think is Mexican, this is from India. This face right here, you see it on a lot of Mexicans. But this is from India. And we're going to leave a link of all the pictures where we take these pictures off from the website for you guys to go and see yourself that this is from India, but this is a so-called Mexican today. This is from Mexico, but this is an Indian. Take a good look now. If you're a Mexican and you call yourself a Mexican, or you call yourself Latina, Hispanic, or any name that you bear under the sun, take a good look of yourself now in the mirror and pull up some pictures of people from India and see if you're not one and the same. Because that's where you're from. The dirtiest smelling scum of the earth people, except those who know the name of the Creator and really know His name, because all the people who claim out here that they know the Creator and know His commandments don't know shit. His name is not Jesus. His name is not Yehoshua. It's not Yeshua. Yeshua and Yeshua in the language, the real language of the remnant, means I will hate. I am a hater. So those idiots and Hebrew Israelites going around and banding the name Shalom. Shalom is not a remnant language. It was written by Indians. If you go to the Arab states, they say Shalom to in North Africa for those fake Arabs who are actually from India, albinos, anybody with straight hair. They say Shalom to. It's not an Israelite language. It's constructed by white supremacists. And a lot of you don't know that. When you say Shalom and say Yeshua or whatever, it's annoying. Claiming that you are Hebrew Israelites and you can't even know the language that you're speaking. So, if you're an albino and you want to know the truth, because a lot of people are going to be in denial, all albinos, anybody with straight hair in the world are going to be in denial. They're going to be so provoked. They're going to be sad. They're going to be angry. And then they're going to try to come after tricks of the S trade and say, let us shut this channel down. And for all those black folk who thought that they had, a dainty albino, anybody with straight hair, white woman, and that makes them look special. They all married some dirty looking scum of the earth Indians, the cursed of the earth. And we're still going to show you that. So do yourself a favor. If you're an albino, anybody with straight hair, of any ethnicity at all, take a good look of yourself in the picture and pick up some pictures of people from India and compare and see if you're not one and the same. Do that. It's very simple, because once we say something, all right, because only a high priest can give you real knowledge. the spell of Satan over your eyes comes down. All right? You will only force yourself to be in denial because you hate the message, right? So you won't do it. But once you hear it, you know the truth. The scales come off from your eyes and you really recognize who you are. Because now we've said it, you're going to find out, wow, it is true. I am a dirty smelling Indian. And I've always thought that I was the shit, right? Okay, let's continue on. So here's another picture of an Indian. So remember, on the right of the images are Indians. These pictures are images of people from India, all right, on the right of the screen. That's what you're going to be looking at throughout this whole particular section of Legends of Roll Call. On the left, you have Mexicans. Now, you have seen this face before on a lot of Mexicans, but this is someone from India because they are one and the same. So this is the history that's being hid. So people will not know who and where they're from because they want you to believe in the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the dirtiest smelling people in the whole entire world. As you're going to find out as we get along, because everything we say, we show you with facts and you hear it from the people themselves, not us, okay? So if you look at that image right here, this is an image of someone from India, and you see this face on a lot of so-called Mexicans who are Indians from the country of India in Asia. So as we've said, if you want to be honest about the truth, take a good look of yourself, all right, in the mirror, if you're an albino, anybody with straight hair. And for those stupid black males who have been carrying around albino women and thinking that it's cool or whatsoever, you are stuck with a dirty smelling Indian. If you want to be honest, tell them to do the same thing and see for yourself. So still on the left of the screen, you have a Mexican family. On the right, you have an Indian family from India. Now compare and contrast the pictures. What do they look like? Look at this man right here. He's Mexican, all right? And look at the people right here. What do they look like? They are one and the same. Same phenotype, same genealogy, because everybody who is an albino, anybody with straight hair, who call themselves white, the white man, they are all from India. All from India. Now, Iran and Iraq was a part of northern India, right? During the times of the Roman Empire, after the Roman Empire destroyed Jerusalem and removed the remnant, Iran and Iraq became a part of northern India. So the so-called white man, all right, that you find today, because the Ottoman Empire, all right, started in Iran and Iraq, they were the first to come out of their dirty-smelling Indian country into what they call Palestine. So the so-called Palestinians, the Ashkenazi Jews, are all from India. This is so crazy, right? How this history has been hid from you. All from India. They were the first to make it into Europe through the Ottoman Empire. And don't worry about it. We are going to give you facts. So just stick around, okay? So it just doesn't look like tricks of the S trade. It's the one talking. We can't believe anything that man says. He just hates us. Because that's what they're going to say. It's not hate. It's hate per se. But hate against evil. Because whatsoever is born of evil is evil. So somebody's going to say and ask this question, because we had someone send us an email one time and said that we sound like we are saying that albinos, anybody with straight hair, is the problem. Well, I want you to hear it and hear it now and hear the answer very clearly. Yes, because albinos, anybody with straight hair, are the problem of this world. And they are evil, as we're going to show you. So keep on sticking around. And let me just answer that question right here. You know, a lot of black people, especially black males, stupid, wicked black males, are married and procreate with albinos, anybody with straight hair. It does not matter what ethnicity they claim. The very people, the very albinos, anybody with straight hair that they are married to, do not like them because it is impossible Because people don't understand what we're talking about. Evil cannot like good. This is the truth. So even though you are married to an albino, procreate, and you have children with them, they do not like you as a black person in reality. Why is that? Someone's going to say, but I do love my husband as an albino, anybody with straight hair. No, you don't. Let me show you why. If you go into every establishment in the United States today, you find out that the majority of people in those establishments are albinos, anybody with straight hair. I want you to pay attention now. They are all albinos, anybody with straight hair. Walk into any establishment, any organization, it doesn't matter. You will find out that there are all albinos, anybody with straight hair who are employed, and they constitute more than 90% of the people in those organizations. And meanwhile, in the country of the United States, there are more black people than albinos, anybody with straight hair. Now, these albinos for one day have never gone up to their employer and tell them, we say that we are not racist and that we love black people and that we preach equality. We want to eradicate racism. They have never gone to their employers and asked, why do we have 90% albinos being employed? Why is there not an equal amount of employment? That means in all, organizations, all right, you should have 50% black people or more, because black people built the country of the United States. I want you to pay attention now so you understand how wicked and evil albinos, anybody with straight hair, are. Even the ones that you say are married to black folk. They have never one day gone up to their employer and said, let us hire 50% black people and 50% albinos. All right? Because we say that we are not a racist society, to prove it. They've never done that. Why? Because every albino, anybody with straight hair in this world is a racist. They have never gone to their employers to request for that. They just keep on going. And then they come and tell you that Black Lives Matter. What bullshit. Black Lives Matter, and you can't employ the people who built the country. Because as we have shown you, every albino, anybody with straight hair who is in North America and South America were immigrated in the 1800s. 1850s actually, correct timeline. 1850s, which is less than 171 years ago from 2021. But yet, they are the ones in all the establishment, in politics, in Congress. Majority, 90% or more, are made of albinos, anybody with straight hair. In all the workplaces that you go, majority, 90%, you rarely find a black person. But black people are more in population in North and South America than albinos. And yet they claim that they are not racist. What gratuitous nonsense and lies. Because black people, stupid black people, wicked black people refuse to see the truth. These people will never love you. They will never like you. Albinos, anybody with straight hair, they will always see you as below being human. Because that is what the Creator said. They are senile, born of inbreeding. They can't think straight. That is why it's so predictable to what an albino will do. If an albino really says that they love black people as they so much lie to you, let them go and tell their employers to hire equal amount of black people in all organizations for the people who built the countries of North and South America before they were immigrated in the 1800s, who were not paid. And because they were not paid, they stopped working. And that's how they brought in more albinos, the white supremacists, to help to continue with what the blacks stopped doing because they refused to pay them. Let's stop with all this bullshit and nonsense and start seeing things for what they are. Judge people by their actions, not by their words. Because a lot of albinos, anybody will straight away will say, oh, we love black people. My neighbor is black. My friend is black. No, you don't love any of them. Because if you love them, you would go to all your employers and say, make sure we hire equal 50% black people and 50% albinos. So there is an equal measure of work and jobs for black people. Instead of lying going around and making black people believe that by calling them a nigger, that means that you're racist. If you don't call someone a nigger, that means you're not racist. If a black person comes into your store and buys something, then you don't shut him out, it means you're not racist. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because they change the difference for you to understand what racism is to prejudice. If an albino calls a black person a nigger, that's just being prejudiced. At the end of the day, everybody's a nigger. Nigger just means black. Alright? So everybody's a nigger. The albinos, anybody with straight hair, were born of niggers. Inbreeding. That is the obvious truth. So that is what is going on. Every albino, anybody with straight hair, they are all racist. Because they will never go to their employers and tell them that in their organization, which is white field, albino field, anybody with straight hair field, scum of the earth, will not tell their employers, let's hire equal amount of black people to equal amount of albinos. Why? Because they are scared to lose their jobs. As long as white supremacy continues, it profits them. How many of them are going to do that and lose their jobs? Because what's going to happen is that 50% of albinos are going to lose their jobs, right? How many of them are willing to do that sacrifice? None. So that shows you how wicked these people are that you've been sleeping in bed with every day and night. And claim that they love you and that you love them. Black people are so full of shit. You're sleeping with the enemy, giving them power because you want power. So that is the obvious truth. Love is an action. It's not by ridiculous words that albinos, anybody with straight hair, will lie to you and say they love. They are all racist and evil, because if they were not evil, common sense should tell you, all right, let's go and make sure that black people get equal amount of employment as you do, and opportunities for the very people who built this country, who built the United States, North and South America. But they've never done that because they are evil. They rather create all these scenarios, because the reason why police violence on black people is shown on TV is all a diversion. The reason why police violence on black people is shown on the news is all a diversion, is made to make black people think that that is what racism means. No, that's not what racism means. Racism actually means hurting someone financially and physically because of their ethnicity. Two things important there: financially and physically. Albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, are hurting all black people financially. Black people are not hired. That's why all the organizations, when you walk in, you see albino faces, white faces, the faces of Satan, the faces of the devil himself. So they keep this diversion going. They keep you guys fixated on looking on cop violence, police violence on black people as racism. They keep you fixated on that. If an albino, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth, children of Satan from India, call you a nigger, then that means they are racist. That's not racism, that's prejudice. Calling someone names is not racism, it's prejudice. You can be prejudiced against anybody. Because why? You are given a right. It's a creator given right for human beings not to like everybody. You don't like thieves. You don't like people who steal from you. You don't like people who smell. Albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, who are actually the smelliest people in the world. It's normal human behavior. It's only when you act on the prejudice that it now turns into what? It now turns into malice. And if the malice is associated only with a certain ethnicity, that means it's racism. That is the true definition. But they don't want you to see that. They want to keep all the jobs and keep black people from looking. These people are actually evil. They have been around for 171 years in North America. They came and saw black people. But yet, the very jobs that they own, which were made because all the inventions in this world were created by black people, they have no benefit. Especially the remnant, who have been the most maligned and cheated people in the world for this system to succeed. So that the Levitical priesthood will not be seen to tell you guys the truth, so you see it for yourself and know what it is. So no albino, anybody with straight hair, likes any black person, except for those who know the commandments of the Creator, know His name, and know the truth. Because as we have explained, anybody who knows the truth knows the commandments and the name of the Creator, which are very few at this point in time in history. Very few. It means that your origin were not albinos, anybody with straight hair. It means that some point in time in their history, they had a person whose ancestry, whose origin was from the remnant, a black person, because the remnant is black with woolly hair. So besides that, every albino, anybody with straight hair, is from India, the very children of Satan, as we're going to show you. So here are some famous faces that you guys think, oh, they are Latina, like Jennifer Lopez would say, Latina from the Bronx or Dominican or whatever. No. Everybody who says they're from Puerto Rico, Dominican, they are mixed and all that, they are Hispanic, they are Latina, they are all from India. All of them, every one of them. So when you look at Jennifer Lopez right now, since we have told you the truth, what do you see? Do you see a Latina, or you see the real origin of the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair in Jennifer Lopez, who is from India, the dirtiest smelling people? Do you see that now? So how about the Queen of England? All right, and the family, Prince Charles, who's actually a transgendered female. Where do you think they're from? All from India via the Ottoman Empire. And we're still getting into that, but for now, you have to carry that knowledge. All from India. Anybody with straight hair, the white man. Because especially people who look like this, all right, are actually from Iran and Iraq. Because in Iran and in Iraq, because the inbreeding was so much high over there, because Iran and Iraq was a part of northern India in history of the Ottoman Empire, they became the so-called white man, while people in the southern part of India who were inbreeding less because they had more black people, the black people who had brought civilization to them and gave them all the knowledge that they now have and brought them out into the Ottoman Empire, right? Now made them to look like this. But they are all from India. They're one and the same people of stock and genetics. Here is Meghan Markle with Prince Harry. Where do you think Prince Harry is from? From India. Every albino, anybody with straight hair in this world, all come from India. Now, do you see what we are trying to show you here? Because all of a sudden, Prince Harry came and married a woman that's half black, right? Why do you think they did that? Because albinism cannot succeed without blackness. This is why these people, albinos, anybody with straight hair, are drawn to black people. They are drawn to black people for one thing and one thing only: to suck your energy out and create and have carbon for the next generation so that albinism can succeed. Because without blackness, without black people, albinos, anybody with straight hair, are doomed. They will die under 2 generations, all of them. So when these things happen, people do not understand. Demons are white. Real demons are white. They have to be attracted to a black body who has energy for their sustenance. This is why demons possess people, for energy, because they are white. So Prince Harry here, who's from India, married a woman who's partially black, right? To get some carbon for his child so that albinism can continue. But where is it from? From India, the dirtiest smelling people of the world. How about Tom Cruise? All from India, immigrated into North and South America in the 1850s. All from India. You heard it. It was not just from my mouth that you heard it. You heard it from several other people who are not related to Tricks of the S trade, Steam, or family. They're all from India. Every albino, anybody with straight hair, all from India. So a lot of, like we've said, a lot of people are all dainty. You know how black people get dainty? They feel they are special if they got an albino married or procreated to one, and the albino feels dainty. She kind of sits pretty. The ugliest woman in the world, an albino, anybody with straight hair will sit pretty and feel proud. Oh, look at all these black people just admiring me because I am an albino, anybody with straight hair. See how stupid black people are? Because they can only be controlled by whiteness, because whiteness is demonic. You can't be controlled by blackness because blackness is good. So all those people who have been thinking, especially black folk, thinking they've been special, they're married, they have children with an albino, anybody with straight hair. All you got going on is a scum of the earth, dirty smelling Indian, the cursed of the earth, which the Creator told everybody, stay clear of these people. And they were in India for generations. Before, when the remnants got removed, they now had an opportunity to come out of their caves, trained by black folk. Trained by black folk. And we're going to show you that. And how about the Kardashian family, which a lot of people adore? And as usual, did you notice something about the Kardashian family? They all love black men, right? What do you think they are doing? Like I have always said, albinism cannot succeed without black folk. These people have no energy. They are weak. They can't do nothing. The only way they can get that energy is by procreating with a black person and creating a half-black baby to continue what? Albinism. Anybody with straight hair. The scum of the earth. So now that you've seen, because now that your eyes have dropped open, you can now see how the Kardashian family looks Indian, right? Because they are all from India. So how about Vladimir Putin right here? All Indians. The scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, Vladimir Putin, all from India, the dirtiest smelling people in the world. Who think that they're the cleanest and black people are dirty and stink, when they are the stinking people, and they owe everything that they have to black folk, which we're going to show you. How about Benjamin Netanyahu, the so-called Israeli prime minister? Now, let me make you guys understand something. We already said this, but we're going to repeat it here so you hear it now. Every time you say the word Israel, you're using a construction of a word made from the construction of the names of the Trinity. That is the obvious truth. The people of Scripture never called themselves Israel. All this was changed up by the very scum of the earth, albino supremacists, anybody with straight hair that you're looking at, just like Benjamin Netanyahu right here. The people of Scripture never called themselves Israel. So every time you go around saying, I am an Israelite, I am a Hebrew Israelite, the more you're telling a lie. Because, like we've said, the more Satan tries to cover up the truth, he makes the world to be full of lies. The more he increases the lies in every variation, the more the truth comes out and is shown to be the truth. Do you understand what we're saying now? So I want you to imagine right now that the plants and leaves of the earth and everything is green, right? As we see it. The more it becomes green, the more blackness is shown. Let me just make you understand that more. If everything around you is green, when you see a black thing, the black thing is going to be clearly identified because everything else around it is green. So the more Satan makes the world to be full of lies, the more truth is going to show. So Benjamin Netanyahu here, where do you think he is from? From India, the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair. From India, the dirtiest smelling people in the whole entire world. Go to India, take a trip to India. You'll be amazed at the dirtiness of India. And like we've said, India has been one of the oldest civilizations. India started existing in the book of Exodus. And we're going to show you that. They started existing as a nation, as a country, as a people in the book of Exodus. The only other civilization before India, all right, was Africa. But here, when you go to India, you cannot even walk through the streets. The smell is terrible. So for all those albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth who think that they are very clean and black people, all right, are dirty, take a trip to your origin, your home country, and see what it looks like because you're all from India. And then you will see for yourself that what we're saying is true. You will find people defecating on the streets, doing all sorts of mannerisms of dirty stuff that you can't even believe. You can't even sit down and eat the food because you start wondering, what am I eating if these people stink and smell like this? That is what India looks like. Why? Because Satanism, evil people, the curse of the earth, the scum of the earth, caused by the Creator, are all dirty, smelly, and stinking. And today they walk around thinking that they're the cleanest. They wipe everything. I don't like germs. Go to your home country, you're all from India, and see what it looks like first. So when you take a look at somebody like Mark Zuckerberg now, where do you think Mark Zuckerberg is from? He's from India. And remember, Mark Zuckerberg is a female. And remember, everybody who is an Oriental is actually also an albino now from India, because during the Ottoman Empire, the Indians took over the Oriental people who have this look that you see here, all right, whose origin are all Japanese, because every Oriental comes from Japan. Japan is their native country. It's from Japan that they spread into all the other Oriental states like China, North Korea, South Korea, and the rest. They are all Japanese in origin, all right? So, technically speaking, when the Roman Empire removed the remnant from the Middle East, the Orientals who had a lineage, who were more like cousins to the remnant, lost the protection of their borders against the Indians, the scum of the earth who were domiciled in India and were not allowed to come in because the Oriental states, right, and the remnants made sure that they did not allow them to come into their borders. So when the remnants were removed by the Roman Empire, the Oriental states, right, who were smaller in number at this point in time, could not protect their borders. That's the reason for the Great Wall of China, which they built. But during the Ottoman Empire, that got changed. And the scum of the earth, albino, anybody with straight hair, took over the Oriental states and introduced their religion, which is called Hinduism, in which Buddhism or Buddhism is an aspect of it, to the Oriental states, and introduced and made it a law that they should inbreed. And that is how Asians today, Orientals, now come out looking like this. All right? So the Oriental people were black. If you go, like, let's say, 3 generations before them, all their parents were black with woolly hair. 3 generations. So that means if I gave you an actual timeline, in the 1500s, you still had a lot, all right, of black people who were Oriental. When you welcome yourself into the concealed mystery, you'll get all that information. But for now, this is not for those. So the Orientals had a lineage. They were more like, let's say, cousins to the remnant. And even though they fought, they still understood that they were related to the remnant. Buddhism, which is an offshoot of Hinduism, right, is not the religion of the Orientals. It's something they had to take up because the dirty smelling scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair, took them over in the Ottoman Empire. So if you go like, let's say, 4 generations before that happened, let's say if you're an Oriental right now living, if you go 4 generations before you, that means 4 grandparents before you, those grandparents were black with woolly hair. And the Orientals had a knowledge of the Creator. So that's why if you notice in ancient Chinese writing or ancient Oriental writing, the word for boat is a symbol of 8 people inside a boat, because the Orientals were very closely related to the remnant, as we have explained. So they had a lot of information about the Creator, all right? They understood that the Levitical priesthood, right, was of the Creator, and so they recognized that the remnants were the only ones who were the high priest. And so a lot of Orientals always went to the remnant, all right, always went to the temple in Jerusalem, all right, to make sacrifices and to do the commandments of the Creator for those who followed after the Creator. So they had this history. So let's pull up a picture now and show you that the word for boat in ancient Chinese writing, which is the same as Japanese writing, because as we've explained, everybody who's Oriental, their history comes from Japan. It doesn't matter if you call yourself Chinese, Mongolian, or you stay in any of the islands around that particular area of Asia, which is called the Orient in French. Their history all comes from Japan. Now let's pull up a picture now and show you the word for boat, that it constitutes an indication of a vessel with 8 people, because the Orientals knew the history of creation as taught by the remnant, by their high priest, because they were closely related until the scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair, dirty smelling people from India, took them over after the remnant were removed by the Roman Empire. So here is an ancient Oriental writing for the word boat. So the symbols here show you a vessel, so indicating the ark, or if you want to call it the ark, it was a great boat. And the number 8, so this is the symbol for number 8 in any of the ancient Oriental writings, all right? And here is the symbol for people. So these symbols put together from the word boat, as you can see here. So this is the boat, this is the word, this is the number for 8, and this is people right here. So that is the history which a lot of people do not know. And getting back to what we were saying, so every time someone says that they are of Israel, they are liars, because the remnant never called them Israel. Israel is a made-up, constructed word by the scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair supremacists, who rewrote the Bible to cover up the fact that the very first commandment said, I am your creator, you shall not inbreed, which a lot of people do not know that that is the first commandment. Let's continue on. So here is a picture of Mark Cuban. Where do you think Mark Cuban is from? Now that we've shown you that everyone is Indian, can you see how all the Indian features on his face now show that he is from India? Because you've been under a spell of Satan by his own people, the scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair. Now all you black people who think that you have been going around with the greatest and that it makes you feel special, you see how you cursed yourself and gave strength to your enemy? by giving them carbon, as Prince Harry does with Meghan Markle? And who is this Dana White? Where do you think he's from now? They are all from India. The scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, all from India. They are not European. They are not Ashkenazi Jews. They are not Australian. They are not Mexican. They are not Hispanic. They are not Latina. They are not Puerto Rican. They are not Dominican. They are all from India, and neither are they from the United States, and neither are they Native American, as you would say, because the word India was constructed specifically to identify that they were from India, and they used that word Native Indian to steal Black American history. And here is Fidel Castro, lifetime president of Cuba or thereabout. Where do you think he is from? They are all from India. All right? And now, since you've heard us say it, because this is true and this is fact, that albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, are the dirtiest smelling people in the world, who have been lying to you that black people are, and they go around cleaning everything. We don't want germs. We don't want that. I have said, and we say, your origin is from India. Go to India and see if you can walk in the streets and even eat food. The dirtiest smelling place in the whole entire world, because the children of Satan are dirty, demonic, because of all the atrocities that they have committed. The curse of the earth, which the Creator told black people they should not cohabit with these people. And that is why the miscegenation laws were made in North America, because the black people who were there at the time knew that there should be no mixing between black and albinos, as every ancient people knew, for those who decided to go after the commandments of the Creator. But for those who did not, who are children of Satan, they said, no, we have to, we want to. Why? Because for any black person to succeed, as we have shown you, they must associate themselves with whiteness. If you're seeking the power of Satan for success in this world, which a lot of stupid people today are going to hear and going to go practice the wicked to show that they are wicked, you have to associate yourself with albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, the curse of the earth. And meanwhile, everything we are saying, we are not saying anything. Because the origin of the albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, all right, in India is just a recent history. They have an origin that is long and goes further back than India, which we are going to show you. Let's continue now and show you, and you'll hear from the mouth of an Indian that Indians, the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, are the dirtiest smelling people in the whole entire world. Now, if for some reason we upload this video and the parts that we want to show you, YouTube does not allow the video to go through, I want you to understand that you can mail us and you can pay for a copy of this particular section. All right, if it's edited out, you can pay for it and we will send it to you, like this whole series. So you get everything in case YouTube does not allow the original format in which it was created to be aired. Because why? YouTube has to protect its albino scum of the earth people. All right? They have to protect them. They have to protect their empire. Let's continue on.
According to legend, the god Shiva founded the city of Varanasi around 5,000 years ago. It's one of the oldest cities in the world and one of the most sacred. Built along the banks of the river Ganges, worshippers come to wash away their sins and cremate the dead. More than 300 cremations take place here each day. The bodies are then thrown in the water. The city attracts more than 3 million tourists every year, eager to view these rituals. Sonia and Dominique have traveled from Argentina. They planned a contemplative trip, but ended up distracted by the mounds of rubbish floating in the river.
Seeing so many people getting inside the Ganga and thinking like it's one of the most contaminated rivers, and like everyone was swimming, and we were like, we don't really want to touch the water.
The Ganges is a main tourist attraction here, but the river is drowning under a sea of rubbish. Many visitors are troubled by what they see.
They just put all the trash and dirty and dead bodies in the river.
According to this river taxi driver, there are around half the number of tourists there once were. Many are put off by the pollution. He took us to its source, a drain that leads into the river, only a few hundred meters away from the historic center of the town.
This is all the wastewater from the city. It's one of the biggest drains in Varanasi. And there's another one just after the bridge. There are 36 in total, and they flow 24 hours a day.
200 million litres of untreated wastewater pour through the drains each day. The buildup of fecal waste and toxic material has killed all marine life. 450 million people live along the river, and the population goes up by 1 million each year. The result, huge amounts of household trash. But ultimately, it's a political problem. Sanjay Sharma works for the city council. He organised a clean-up operation to take place while our cameras were rolling.
Why is that still there? Why? Clean that for me right away.
His organisation has links to Narendra Modi. 4 years ago, the Prime Minister promised to clean up the river, but nothing's happened.
We saw the waste coming out of the drain over there. What is the government doing?
The government is dealing with the problem. We will close the drain and filter the water before putting it in the river.
For the past 20 years, successive governments have pledged to act, but no purifying stations have been installed. Day by day, the holy city of Varanasi is turning into an open-air rubbish tip.
India has a lot to be proud of. Its democratic tradition, its diversity, its contributions in art, architecture, and science, and yoga. But images like this one taint India's reputation. So why is this image associated with India? Well, if this circle represents all of the open defecation that happens in the world, this is the fraction that happens in India. And this is the fraction that happens only in rural India. 65% of rural Indians defecate in the open. So what that means is that most of the open defecation that happens in the world happens in rural India, and most rural Indians defecate in the open. Every day, 500 million people in villages in India go in the fields rather than use a toilet or a latrine. That's bigger than the population of the United States. And this is a really important issue because open defecation is really bad for child health. Every year, hundreds of thousands of children die in India because of exposure to the bacteria in feces. And those that survive are physically and cognitively stunted because of that exposure. This lives with them for the rest of their lives. So why do so many people in India defecate in the open? If it's such a bad problem, if it's so widespread and it's so poor for child health, why does it persist? That's the question that my colleagues and I sought to answer when we started our SQUAT survey 2 years ago, a survey of sanitation quality, use, access, and trends. Some of you may be thinking that, Well, India is a poor country, and, maybe people in India just can't afford to build latrines. I visited a village in Uttar Pradesh last December, and I was walking around the village looking for a household that had a latrine. So I was wandering all throughout the village, and I just couldn't find anyone that had a latrine. Until I entered one hamlet, and I saw all these covered pits all over the place. I got excited because latrines have pits, and I thought that these were latrines, until I started talking to someone who lived there. So I approached a man, and I asked him whether he had a latrine. He said he didn't. So I was a little puzzled, and I asked him, well, if you don't have a latrine, then what are you using this pit right here that's in front of your house for? He said that he and his family had built this pit so that the water that they use for dishwashing and clothes washing and bathing could just flow into the pit and soak into the ground rather than going into the streets and making the village dirty. This household could have definitely afforded to build a latrine. A latrine just has a pit with a slab and a seat on top of it. They had built most of that infrastructure already. They just didn't prioritize one. And in fact, many households in rural India don't prioritize having a latrine. So let's compare India to some other countries in the world. On the vertical axis of this graph, we have the rate of open defecation in the country. And on the horizontal axis, we have GDP per capita. Each circle on this graph represents a country, and the size of the circle represents the size of the population. So there's a trend line here, which means that richer countries tend to have lower rates of open defecation than poorer countries do. But India is really far from that trend line. India is an outlier. Of the 55 countries that are poorer than India on this graph, 46 of them have a lower rate of open defecation. So the reason why income doesn't really explain open defecation in India very well is because simple latrines that safely confine feces in the ground are actually very inexpensive. So in Bangladesh, we'll commonly find latrines that look like this. And many people use latrines like this all over the country in Bangladesh. These latrines cost about $50 or 3,000 rupees. In Kenya, people commonly use latrines that look like this, and this costs even less than $50. These latrines are incredibly simple. They have a pit, which is about 50 cubic feet, or a cylinder in the ground of about 3 feet by 6 feet deep. And on top of that, there's a slab with a seat in it. Every 5 years or so, these pits have to be emptied, and in pretty much every developing country in the world where latrines like this are used, they're emptied by hand. So the WHO recommends the use of latrines like this because they reduce the amount of germs in the environment. And in most developing countries, latrines like this are commonly found all over the place, except in India. In India, it's more common to find latrines that have pits that look like this. And I can promise you, my colleague Nikhil is not a short man. So Nikhil and I met this household in Gujarat last year, and we asked them why they were building a pit this large. They were in the process of constructing it. This household told us that they wanted to build a pit that would last them a generation. So I asked them, why do you need a pit that lasts a generation? I mean, can't you just build something that's smaller and cheaper and empty it out periodically? They were completely astonished at this question. How could they empty a latrine pit by hand? If they did so, they wouldn't be able to go to the temple, they wouldn't be able to perform their rituals, they would be completely ostracized from their society. That's why they wanted to build a pit this big. And this household isn't unique in feeling that way. In fact, many households in rural India feel the same way. And while the WHO recommends pits of about 50 cubic feet in size. What we found in the squat survey is that people tend to build pits that are 5 times the recommended WHO pit size. And when we asked households what they would ideally like to build, they told us that they wanted to build pits that were 20 times that size.
Don't let my mask scare you. I'm just trying to stay anonymous. My name is Anamik Nagrik. I'm a proud Indian, and I have one problem with my country. And the problem is, why is India so filthy? I've traveled outside India in neighboring countries in Asia. My friends have been to Africa, and we can all agree on one thing. In India, we tolerate filth on our streets.
I've traveled outside India in neighboring countries in Asia. My friends have been to Africa, and we can all agree on one thing. In India, we tolerate filth on our streets.
I've traveled outside India in neighboring countries in Asia. My friends have been to Africa, and we can all agree on one thing. In India, we tolerate filth on our streets.
But why? We can send a rocket to Mars, but we can't fix this problem. Why do we keep our houses clean and our streets dirty? Even McDonald's, who's come to Bangalore, is cleaning the steps of its outlet out there. But you can see how dirty it is outside. They're either incapable or unwilling to fix what's outside. So what's the problem? Why are we like this? And I think all of us in this audience know the answer. It's not my problem. I pay tax, I vote, isn't that enough? What more should I do? And some of you will say, okay, I want to fix it. I don't even know how to start. Let me take you to dreamland. In this dreamland, there is no corruption. The government is strong. Our budget goes up 10 times. Do you think our cities will be clean? What do you think? And the answer is no. I think we all realize it's not about money or systems. It is about us as a people. Look at this picture. Can someone shout out, which city is this from? Look closely. Look at the furniture. Can you guess? Shout out. Which city is this? It's not Bangalore. Look closely again. There's a clue out here, the Bank of India. The other clue is that it's very poorly maintained. There are pan stains everywhere. This is the restaurant. It is Singapore, and it is Little India, Singapore. And what does this tell us about us? What is Singapore's brand image? Cleanliness. It is a fine city. They enforce laws. They're very affluent. They care about their look. But when a group of Indians lives in one neighborhood, we seem to bring down the civic standards. We can beat the world's best systems. In fact, I would like to say, and I'm an Indian, we are the undisputed world champions of public filth.
But when a group of Indians lives in one neighborhood, we seem to bring down the civic standards. We can beat the world's best systems. In fact, I would like to say, and I'm an Indian, we are the undisputed world champions of public filth.
Or their look. But when a group of Indians lives in one neighborhood, we seem to bring down the civic standards. We can beat the world's best systems. In fact, I would like to say, and I'm an Indian, we are the undisputed world champions of public filth.
Why do we need a policeman when we have a traffic light? Because we are a society that doesn't like to follow rules. In Bangalore, dustbins are not allowed. You're expected to keep your garbage at home till the collector comes, but it doesn't seem to work. So one neighborhood in Bangalore, Indranikar, said, let's put dustbins. So they put dustbins. And see what happened. We don't like to follow rules, so all the garbage is outside the dustbin. Now this is the problem with us as a society. We need to all admit that we are all ugly Indians, and more importantly, only we can save us from ourselves. And as long as we're emotional about it, we won't solve it. And so, do you think there is any hope? What do you all think? A lot of people have given up. They leave the country. They stay in gated communities. But some people said, no, let us try and fix this problem in an Indian way by understanding the Indian psychology. And so social experiments began on Church Street in Bangalore in 2010, where the idea was simple. Let us understand Indians' behavior from a point of view of culture, behavioral psychology. Let's see what it takes to make an ugly Indian change. But most importantly, without him or her realizing it. We don't like to be told what to do. We have to be fooled into improving our behavior. Can we nudge an ugly Indian towards better behavior in public spaces? And you may have heard of the broken windows theory, which says that if a place is ugly, it becomes uglier. If a place is beautiful, it commands respect. There's another theory in economics called the tragedy of the commons, which means we care for our private spaces, we don't care about public spaces. India is a perfect example of both these theories in action. This is Koramangala. That lady is throwing garbage on the road in a beautiful part of an upscale neighborhood. And why is she doing it? Because someone has already thrown before. What can we do to make her change her behavior without her knowing it? This is a typical example of civic problems in India. Pan stains on the wall. This is on the wall of Deccan Herald newspaper in Church Street. It has been like this forever. Because there is pan stains, people urinate on it. Nobody walks on that footpath. So a few people sat and observed it and tried an experiment. This is what they did. They painted the wall. They painted a red band at the bottom. They put some flower pots. And incredibly, there were no more pan stains on that wall. And why? Because the person spitting pan is trying his best to be clean. He chooses to spit into the pot. If he by mistake spits in the corner, the red color masks it. Once people stop spitting, people actually go on the footpath. It works. There are dozens of walls in Bangalore with a red band at the bottom that has taken an Indian solution to apply to an Indian problem. This is very common. This is Indranagar. The young schoolboy is facing a death trap. We see this very often. Has any one of you never seen a death trap? Bangalore is full of death traps. The little boy has to walk around, look at that footpath. And if you go and ask the residents, they have complained for years, nothing has happened. 3 people said, let's fix it. This is what they did. They actually went and fixed the footpath. It has remained fixed for 6 months. What's the message? If you see a problem, you go fix it. Nobody stops you. You can actually make a change. Don't waste your time complaining. Litter bins are a problem. Why? Sometimes they look like animals. They're made of fiberglass. They catch fire with cigarettes. Some litter bins are rusting. They're falling on the ground. And don't litter bins look so dirty that they actually bring down the aesthetics of the place? The litter bin is supposed to make it clean. Sometimes they're not there where you want them. So people improvise. They put litter in trees. So some people sat and said, can we design a litter bin that will not get stolen, that looks beautiful, that people will use, that lasts through weather, and actually improves the aesthetics of the place? And so they came up with something called the Tere bin, which is a designer dustbin. This is on MG Road in Bangalore, Brigade Road rather. The beautiful part of it, it is not stealable. Nobody wants it because it's made of materials nobody wants. It works, it looks clean. And for the last 3 years, there are 200 dustbins across Bangalore. And it has worked because somebody applied his mind to solve a problem as a problem. This is in front of ITPL. The dustbin is exactly where you need it, near a bus stop. People use it. It has worked. And this is the biggest problem of all, open garbage. This is outside the Koramangala club. You would think they would figure it out, but they didn't. And some people said, let's make this as an example. And this is what they did. It has remained fixed. It is not a photo op at all. And the reason well-known places are taken is that if people who are rich, powerful, and with social pressure cannot do it, then there's something wrong with us. This is outside the house of Dr. Rajkumar. Poor Mr. Puneet Rajkumar has to see this every year. He's got amazing social power. He couldn't fix it. This is what was done. And it has remained fixed for the last 6 months. This is JP Nagar outside Ambarish's house. Again, we've chosen people who are important, who can get things done. But it required the public to do it. This is outside a slum. This is cow dung. This is where children wait for their school bus. It's become a beautiful bus stop. This is outside a tech park. Every tech park in Bangalore, this is Outer Ring Road, has got open drains. There are billion-dollar companies in there. Apparently, nobody is willing to fix this. They're all blaming somebody else. A few people went, made it a safe zone, made it a bus stop. It's working. And so the point is, whether it's a slum, a tech park, or an affluent zone, you can make change. This is in Whitefield nearby. This is actually an open toilet. There's a slum at the back where people who use the toilet. That's a wine shop. This is in the Jagrati Theatre. It's crazy. So some people from Whitefield said, let's fix it. So they fixed it. But what happened? People still throw garbage. You cannot fix a place by just painting it. You have to solve the underlying problem. So on day 2, 5 people went to all the houses and said, from tomorrow we'll make a new system where you don't need to put your garbage on the ground. See what happened. What is interesting is that all the people, the slum dwellers, the wine shop owner, the Jagrati people, the people in apartments got together to solve a common problem. They had never spoken to each other before. They used to complain to each other about each other before. When the community comes together to fix a common problem, it is no longer a tragedy of the commons. This is a victory of the commons. And this particular project has spurned many, many more projects in Whitefield. Now look closely. This is actually urine outside a wine shop. Indian men need to urinate, and let's accept that. Let's not get emotional about it. Can we make them urinate in a dignified way and rescue the public space? So this is a wine shop, there's urine outside, the wine shop owner couldn't be bothered. It created an innovation where someone said, let's create a dignified way for men to urinate and rescue our public space. It resulted in something called the Wonder Loo, which is an open air urinal, a private space where men urinate and the rest of the wall gets rescued. Now, who did all these projects? Look closely. There are senior citizens. That lady is in her 70s, she's holding a crowbar. There are retired army officers, there are slum children, there's a wine shop owner. They all came together and did this project. There was no contract labor at all. It was all done entirely by citizens. And that evening, people came in their car to buy their liquor and they used the restroom in the open. Everybody is happy. So everybody, all the stakeholders in that spot eventually got what they wanted. And even though they have hugely opposing ideologies, they're getting along. And that's the big message out here. So what do you think? Is there any hope?
So you heard it right there from the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, that India is the smelliest, filthiest place in the whole world. So it doesn't just look like tricks of the estrate saying, oh, he's just a hater, he just hates us. We are showing you facts upon facts upon facts, undeniable. So it doesn't just look like tricks of the estrate said it. So, but if you do not get this part of the video and YouTube for some reason said that we should, can't upload it because it contains this content from TEDx, email us and pay for it, because you're going to pay for it, for the whole entire series of Legends of Roll Call, and we'll send it to you as we had made it so you can have it. So that is what is going on right there, showing you that the so-called albinos, anybody with straight hair, right, especially the women who think they are all dainty, are the filthiest people in the world. Like I've said, take a trip down to India, any of you, and see for yourself what's going on and how dirty and smelly the people are, because they are all originated from, because every albino in this world, doesn't matter if you call yourself North African, you say you're from North Africa, or you say you're from Saudi Arabia, as the royal household of Saudi Arabia say they're from Saudi Arabia, or they say they are Israelite, which is a fake name, which is a constructed name and not the name of the remnants. They never call themselves Israel. Or they say that they're European, like the Queen of England, or like the Kardashians, say they are all so clean. Every albino out there, especially the females, who think they are the cleanest people in the world, they go about wiping everything off, especially during this COVID-19 fabricated bullshit. Go to India and see for yourself where you are from, because we are at the end of the world. So the reason why all this information is coming out is because the Creator is going to start dealing with the Gentile nations before He destroys this whole world. Everybody has to know where they are from, their origins. So that is why we're telling you this, because in the future, now pay attention, because we're going to show you this later. In the future, every albino, anybody with straight hair, right, they are going to be expelled out from every nation back to their home country in India. Because the reason why this history has been kept, the Vatican kept this history. So if this history was not supposed to be known, the Vatican will not keep it, because every information we are presenting to you, the Vatican kept it. Why would they keep it? Because at the end of the day, no matter what Satan does, he is always going to fulfill the Creator's will. So this information was kept for a specific reason, so that it would be presented at this point in time, so that anybody with straight hair will know they are from India, because they will be expelled back from all the nations. And someone's going to say, huh? Yes, it's going to happen. And we're going to show you on Legends of Roll Call on how it will happen. Every albino, anybody with straight hair, will be expelled from every nation in the world. So those ones that are sitting pretty and saying we are Americans, or they say we are Mexicans, and they say we are Arabic, or they say we are Australians, or they say we are South Africans, or they say we are North Americans, or they say we are from Europe. My father has German and Italian ancestry. You're all going to be expelled to India. And when it happens, a lot of them will not know why. Do you know why? Because they do not know the history. They'll be wondering, why is the government telling us that we should go back to India? Well, just for your information, this happened already in history and has been happening, and we'll show you proof later on. So we just wanted to show you right here so you see for yourself that it's not just tricks of the S-trade talking. You know, as the people in denial, especially the wicked black folk who are going to find out, damn, I've been locked up with an Indian all this while and I think I was the shit. Yeah, you are the shit. Really, you stink. You've been cohabiting with demons, with the devil, with the children of Satan, the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair. For those who do not know the commandments of the Creator and keep it, that is what you have been cohabiting with. Shit. And that is exactly what is happening. You've been cohabiting with shit because you did not pay attention and seek after the commandments of the Creator and know His name. That's why you fell into that mess. And you thought, oh, you had the most prettiest woman in the world, the albino, sitting all pretty and thinking everybody's admiring me because I'm albino. And we don't come cheap. We don't just marry everybody, all right? So they are very blessed to have me, an albino, marry their brother who's black. Bullshit. The Creator said everybody should stay away from the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair. But black people from Africa went there seeking the power of Satan. And that's exactly how they came out and came to be the Ottoman Empire, and from then got into the Vatican and then controlled the whole entire world. This is the truth. So, people were not supposed to procreate with albinos, anybody with straight hair. This is the truth. So for example, let's just give you an example right now in Orientals. If you notice, Orientals most likely will marry an Oriental. Very rare before you find an Oriental marry outside of his Oriental people. Why is that? Because the Orientals were connected by lineage to the remnant, and they knew that they were not supposed to marry outside of their own people, because this was a commandment given to the remnant, that the remnant should not marry outside of the remnant. They should not give their daughters to anybody, and they should not marry anybody. Let's read that so you see.